Real Talk Show. I tell you, this is going to be wonderful. I am one of the hosts. I'm a co-host. I'm Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim from Journey to Becoming. And I have my co-host who should be coming soon, Rochelle Lawson, Queen of Fabulous from Blissful Living. And we are the Real Talk Show. Real Talk is a live stream podcast designed with the mindset of connecting, inspiring, motivating, supporting, and uniting women around the world. It is a safe place where women can come together to discuss real issues and challenges that women face in today's society. It has been designed to be a safe place where women can share their wisdom, receive wisdom, and talk about what we can do to make the world a better place. And we need more of this open, honest, and loving conversation. So I am the founder and CEO of Journey to Becoming, which exists to coach clients in their journey to their purpose, to develop the strategies and motivation, empowerment, and accountability required to succeed in business, in classes, universities, and personal lives. So just really our focus is on, we have a women platform and we have a college student platform. So that's who we are. And we are so happy to have with us today as a guest, a friend of mine, actually, but who is also a professor and so many other things, a health provider as well. But I'll let her introduce herself and tell a little bit more about herself, and then we'll talk more about what our topic will be for this evening. Okay, Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Carolyn Dunn. I am a healthcare professional. I started out as a respiratory therapist and then did some international consulting and life support, and COVID is right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
But probably halfway into my 35-year career in healthcare, I started getting into holistic health
Okay.
and leadership. So I have my master's degree in organizational leadership and spirituality in leadership, and did my master's thesis on energy healing among leaders to help them overcome obstacles in getting through anxiety and stress and fear and things that hold us back in our careers. So I'm excited to be here and share any insights I can about that.
Well, this is wonderful. Well, we're excited that you are here. And it's funny, and we know, and really, I have to tell you guys, I didn't plan this. So I don't want you to think I literally planned this because I didn't even know about her master's. But today's topic is actually talking about anxieties that keep us from our goals or our dreams, right? And so one of the questions that, I always talk about, is, I ask people first, like, what are some anxieties that or fears or that people may have, right? Because so many different people, when I talk to them, they talk about some anxiety or fear that made us stop them from actually moving forward at first, but they overcame it, right? So today we're kind of talking about that, dealing with, what kind of anxieties have can stop and have stopped people. It doesn't have to be necessarily you, but for you, Carolyn, I'd be interested just to find out first, do you have anxieties that have stopped you from, any goals or dreams?
No.
Okay.
We kind of talked about this before. When you
Yeah.
asked me to come onto this, I'm like, well, I don't know what I can share because I don't have fear. I don't have anxiety. I was just kind of born this way. But I started off, so being fearless.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
ended up being in leadership position. I was managing 100 professional respiratory therapies when I was 22 years old.
Oh,
so,
wow. Wow.
but my interest certainly sparked from that because I would do these different programs, or we would start up new procedures or do different things, and my large staff, there would inevitably be somebody who would sabotage progress
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
of fear and anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
so it took me a long time to recognize that, and
Okay.
then to be able to deal with it and help people through that. So a lot of it was,
Wow.
communication and listening to people and helping them, ease whatever fears they had. And it was different for every single person and every single
Mm-hmm.
project. And so that's why I went into my master's degree, and looking at specifically emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of bringing, healthcare is probably the one of the leading industries that's integrating holistic health, so it
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes sense. But and energy healing into the practice. But many other businesses are starting to do the same thing then too. And so I did my research on a kind of a self directed energy healing technique,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked, really well. So
Mm-hmm.
largely we're kind of programmed like computers, that for some reason along the way we lost our innate knowledge of how to clear ourselves, and how to, if you look at dogs, they shake things off. They just
Mm-hmm.
every now and then, they just head to toe tail shake things off. And
Mm-hmm.
cats do like yoga stretches, and they just stretch their bodies to kind of move things out. And we as humans, we forgot how to do that. And so we hang on to it, and then it gets kind of stuck, and then it limits our perceptions, it limits
Mm-hmm.
our behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
um, and limits our lives. And so
Sure.
that's largely, so my research really showed that there's a direct correlation between emotional, um, influences and responses to what's going on, and our physical bodies. So it
Mm-hmm.
was almost it was like a 0.84 percent um, correlation, a
Mm-hmm.
0.84 correlation, Pearson's correlation. And I mean, that's pretty high. So
Right. So
so
you don't have this type of fear or anxiety that a lot of people actually deal with every day. So,
yeah.
so that's pretty interesting how you were built, but also how you learned other ways to be able to deal with it and have it to get rid of it so you don't have it. But there are
Mhm.
women who I know out there that can definitely relate to, having an anxiety, or maybe not an anxiety, but just a fear, even fear of succeeding. This is one thing that
Mhm.
has come up a lot of times when I talk to different people, period. But even, with women who I've spoken with, they're talked about how, oh my goodness, they have this fear, and then once they start to dive into it, they started to recognize that it wasn't a fear of failing. A lot of times people understand and they were like, oh yeah, okay, I know about the fear of failing, but it was like a fear of actually succeeding. And so, a lot of times I
Right.
think we don't look at that to figure that out, that there was a fear of succeeding, that was stopping that person from getting there. I know I myself have had, different times when I've had a fear of, like, failing. Like, I understood that, right? But the fear of succeeding, I think, sometimes creeps up in a way where we don't recognize it, because you kind of
Yeah.
wait for you kind of figure, oh yeah, no, it's not succeeding, and then all of a sudden you're like, hmm, I didn't realize that, when they start getting deeper and thinking, okay, it's not really failing that I'm fearful of, but it's actually succeeding. What happens when I achieve the goal of becoming a doctor? What
Mhm.
happens if I achieve the goal of becoming a teacher? What happens if I achieve the goal of opening my own business? Then what? What happens? What does that look like? And even being able to, to see that, and getting scared of not knowing that, and especially if someone's coming from a position of not having it, what does that look like? What does that feel like? So, how would you help? Like, what would you say in if you wanted to help somebody who had a fear of succeeding?
Wow. There are so many different ways that, so I come from it from an energy healing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So there are generational curses that
Mm-hmm.
are put upon us, societal curses. I think
Sure.
for women and different intersectionalities for women, uh, there is a lot that has been put upon us to fear success.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean then? There's there's so many different dynamics, and I'm trying to think of the audience that we have here and what would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting or informative to know. One of the
Mm-hmm.
things I think that sticks out for women in particular, I'm assuming that there's mostly women on this call. Is that a good
Right.
assumption?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. It's a women's show, so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
may have some men on here. You never know, but
Okay.
really looking for you know. But mainly, this is the women's platform. Yes.
So women in society tend to be more less hierarchical than men and more uniform. So one of the generational kind of things that sticks out for women is that if somebody succeeds, if another woman succeeds or climbs
Mm-hmm.
the ladder, they tend to get attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is one of the fears that women have of failure, of succeeding, is
Mm-hmm.
that then they will be outcast and they will be subject to a lot of scrutiny
Mm-hmm.
and challenges from being outside of the herd, then from stepping outside of the balance. So
Okay.
that is one big thing that I see a lot in women. Um, so other the success, then once you reach a level of success, then there are expectations that
Mm-hmm.
you are, better than, or that you are knowledgeable,
Mm.
or that you are
Mm-hmm.
competent, and
Mm-hmm.
we all have insecurities, right? And or many of us do. And
Mm-hmm.
so those insecurities tend to pop up, and then it's like, oh, somebody's going to find out that I'm not really all that smart or all that good.
Mm.
And
Wow.
it's funny, so I coach a lot of aspiring leaders in healthcare and other venues
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I try to really instill in them that nobody has the answers. I mean,
Yeah.
our world is in a lot of trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're waiting for somebody to step up with all the answers. Well, nobody's going to step up because nobody really has the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that we do need, one of the collaborative things about women is that we do come together, and that is really
Mm-hmm.
beneficial, to work together and try to solve some problems. But we
Yes,
have
it
to be
is.
confident in the voices that we have, we have been conditioned to be in the herding mentality, and conformity is a good thing, and it's not really. I mean, uh, bringing out your individuality and bringing out your gifts is what is needed and most
Mm.
beneficial for our world. And so, yes, you are unique. Yes, you are different. And no, nobody has all the perfect, traits and talents of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But we all are leaders, and we all need to step up and play our role, play our part in
Mm-hmm.
trying to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So with all of our insecurities and whatnot, when we come together, usually a group of what I have found in my consulting practice is that within the group, there is talent to solve every problem,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hidden, and people don't, they're like,
Mm.
well, I'm not a manager, so I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. I'm not going to say anything. And it's like, but you
Mm-hmm.
hold this specific gift and this trait that is needed for the team to be successful. And
Mm-hmm.
so, regardless of different roles we play, or that we step into, it's interesting to look at an entire team and to pull out the talents that are among the team and bring those
Mm-hmm.
to the table so that everybody succeeds. And it works every time. I've never had a team who was lacking something. It's just
Right.
innate that people come together and make things happen. So, and I suspect that this group too has a lot of talent that can
Yes.
come to the table and help solve problems and make the world a better place and make ourselves better along the way too.
And I love that. I absolutely love that because of the fact that you said one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and that was, there's the talent is usually in the room. It's usually right inside of, of the people who are in the room. The talent is already there. And so that's interesting to me, because then, I start to think in terms of, so what does that look like? And if does somebody feel more comfortable to step up? Because a lot of times, like you said, if it's in the room, and a person knows that they have that talent, right? How do we make the space more comfortable? So people
Yes.
can feel like that they can say, oh, by the way, I have the skill set, or I have this talent that may be able to help. How do we do that?
Well, that is probably the hardest part of my job as a consultant, is doing exactly that. Because I'll see it, and
Right.
then we start talking about it, but it literally is like yanking it out of people, or bribing
Mm-hmm.
people, or finding some way to motivate them to come forward. Because
Mm-hmm.
most people are really lacking self-confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
without the title, they're lacking that innate power that's granted to people in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, no, you just have to make it happen. So it's like it takes a lot
Mm-hmm.
to bring somebody forward. Some people more than others, for sure, but that is definitely the hardest part of the job, is to bring that out and get people comfortable in doing that, because
Mm-hmm.
I think people are afraid of being scrutinized and standing out, and it depends on the culture of the organization too, and where people are at personally, of course, and finding a balance in all of that to make a team, really sing, and to really allow people to thrive. So I remember as a manager, so I was really young as a manager, and I would try to empower my people to do the job. Because one person, one or a few. I wasn't the only person, but in a small team of leadership to manage that many people, and it was a diverse group of people to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would empower people to take on different projects, and they would get scared, and they would come to me, and we'd talk about it, and it'd be like, okay, what's your game plan? Let's
Mm-hmm.
kind of figure this out. Let's give you a
Mm-hmm.
strategy to succeed. And then I would be teasing them. I'm like, okay, no matter what happens, don't screw up, okay?
It's
and
like,
then and
okay,
it was
now I
just
feel
like,
real empowered. You just told
yeah,
me
no,
not to screw
right.
up.
But it was done in a joking way,
Right,
and of
right,
course they knew if they did screw up, it would be totally fine, and we could always
right.
correct anything. And they would come, and sometimes they would come back, and they'd have this big smile on their face, and be just laughing. They're like, "I screwed up," It's like,
But then they
okay.
knew that it was okay, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. In leadership, so I was a respiratory
Mm.
therapist in my career. And so we were dealing with life support equipment. We were the people that pull the plug, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you make a mistake in that realm, it's life or
Yeah.
death. So
Right.
in leadership, it's not life or death. And then so usually, and so you can play a lot, and you
Mm-hmm.
can with good judgment and integrity and things like that. But there's a lot of wiggle room to see what's up. And I think in my coaching of leaders, I I I think what makes a difference between a really good leader and a really great leader is their
Mm-hmm.
comfort level with making mistakes.
Sure,
I
sure.
think that's it.
That's important. And I really appreciate you sharing that. So I want to go ahead and introduce. We've had some technical issues today, ladies. Yes, I'm being honest, transparent, real talk, okay? And so that's what I love about this show. I can be real and say, you know what? Oh my gosh. I have been fumbling around in the background trying to get them on. I don't know what happened. We send out links, and what can I tell you? Welcome to COVID 19, post COVID 19. Even afterwards, it's going to be technical, technical, technical. But real talk, I have been trying to get them on, and I love it because Carolyn has been such a great panelist. She's been carrying conversation, man.
Happy
I
to
love
pass
it.
the
I
torch,
love it.
so I
I
would
love
love
it.
to
But
hear what other people are saying.
I want to I want you to introduce yourselves. We have Janae Lowry and Jen Macias on, and they are wonderful, and we welcome you to Real Talk. And my co-host is coming on too. So let me go ahead and let Janae start, and then we'll go to Jen.
All right. Well, hello there. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad
I'm
we're
sorry.
on. We
My
are
co-host,
trickling
I've
in.
only got my co-host. My
Yes.
co-host is here. Rochelle Marie, the queen of fabulous. Okay, Janae, hit it.
All right. Hey, we will make it happen, right?
Yes.
I'm Janae. I am the founder and
Oh,
CEO of J&L Career Services. I offer consultative career services to assist individuals along their career journeys. So that's anywhere from resume writing, cover letters, mock interviews, to overall career coaching. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
well, thank you for being patient. That's fine. I was working it on the background while I was still talking. Carolyn and I, we were having a great conversation, right, Carolyn? But we were working it. That's real talk. That's why I told Rochelle, real talk. Okay, this is what happens, but you keep moving. Jen, tell us about yourself. Welcome to Real
Hi.
Talk.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Jen Macias. I'm a registered sleep tech, so I conduct overnight sleep studies with people that have sleep disorder symptoms and stuff, and it's been really fun. I've been doing that for a few years, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm so glad that Dr. K invited me. It's gonna be really fun.
All right, come on, co-host.
Hi, everybody. Yay. This is what unstoppable women do. We don't give
That's
up.
it.
We just keep
That's
moving
it.
forward and figure it out as we go along. So I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson. I'm known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, and I'm Kim's co-host on the Real Talk Show. I'm a multi-business owner, and I'm 29 years old.
Okay, we're doing that today.
Well, I had to throw something in there to throw
We're
it out.
doing that today. So you're going to drop the mic early on. Okay. All right.
I'm
Well,
29 and holding. How about
okay. Okay. All right. 29 and holding. Okay. We'll deal with that one. We'll deal with that one. But we were talking about having anxieties about and or fear that keeps us from moving forward in our dreams or goals. And I'm just going to catch you up in conversation real quick because I want to hear from Janae and Jen about whether they had any anxieties or fears that kept them from their goal. I want to hear from you first before I tell you what Carolyn actually said, or Carolyn can actually tell you what she said about when I asked her that question.
Okay. All
Janae?
right. Well, I'll go ahead and go. Anxiety to me is fear, right? That can be the fear of success, fear of failure, fear of
Mm-hmm.
rejection. I have
Mm-hmm.
had my own experiences with anxiety. Honestly, it's something I live with every day. I don't, however, let it stop me from
Mm-hmm.
achieving my goals. I definitely try and challenge myself in certain areas that I have anxiety about. One of them being public speaking.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, exactly, right? But
Well,
I'm here.
yay.
I'm here. I
Exactly.
show up. One thing I do personally is I'll book things. I will book things and then challenge myself to be ready when that day comes. So that's something I do
That's
to
good.
overcome that fear of public speaking. I get it on the calendar and I show up and I show out.
All
So
right. All
that is
right. All right.
something that I live with. Whether it doesn't, whatever goal I'm trying to achieve, I set goals for myself. I break them down into more mini goals,
Mm-hmm.
so that, it's achievable, it's something
Mm-hmm.
measurable, and it's not overwhelming, right? When you break it
Mm-hmm.
into pieces like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's something that we all, work with. And it's just a matter of putting it in the right perspective in your mind and not letting it control you or prevent you from being successful. So.
Mhm.
All right. All right. All right. All right, Jen, what about you?
I definitely had some fears and anxieties as well. Like for me, I can relate. Like anxiety has been a part of my life for a very long time. Lives in my mind rent free. All of that. But yeah, when I was going through like getting to my career, when I was going through that journey, a lot of the anxiety came from just kind of all sorts of different directions, but most of it came from just like this fear of, oh man, what if I actually do make it? Then what? Then I really put the bar up there
That's
for
that
myself.
fear of success.
It was also
Yes.
this idea of like, I want to be really, really good, but what if I become the best and then I can't hold up to that standard every time? So then at some point I was like, maybe I should be middle good. and that was mainly where it was coming from. For me, I had that a lot. Also this feeling of like, am I even good enough? Am I smart enough? Honestly, comparing this to other people in my field that have been doing this for like 20, 30 years. And I'm here in my first year thinking I have to be that good. And so it's a lot of comparison as well, and not even just people in my career specifically, even people who are in their careers. Like I would compare myself to that as well. Social media, that'll do it. That's what was doing it for me. But yeah, the way that I overcame it was just telling myself that I can only be as good as I allow myself to be. Like I can't stand in my own way. I have to set my own standards. Not focus as much on what other people expect of me, but trying to be the best version that I can be, even if it's just that day, like taking it day by day. What can I do today? And then tomorrow I'll take it on that next day and I'll worry about it then. But today, what can I do to be, my best self? So that's kind of how I overcame it. And I still struggle with it all the time.
Well, it's interesting. You guys must have been really kind of picking up, even though you were in the, trying to get on and in the background, you must have been picking it up because we were talking about the failure, not the failure, but the anxiety or fear of succeeding being a big thing, right? The fear of succeeding. But the thing is, when I asked the same question to Carolyn, guess what she told me? She told me she doesn't have any fears or anxieties. So Carolyn, you take it from there.
I know I'm a rarity. I was kind of born this way, but I definitely recognize it, and I've coached a lot of people through it. So it took me a long time to figure it out because I'm like, why wouldn't you just do this? But I've definitely come to appreciate it, and it is challenging for sure. But it took me a long time, and so I can't say I can empathize with you. I can sympathize with you, but But I am a life coach, and so all the things you're talking about are the things that I've seen and studied. So I ended up going and studying this because I didn't understand it. So yeah, all the things you're saying are real. I think we get imprinted by our own experiences or by society or generational things that get passed down to us, and it's a matter of really just kind of clearing them out of our bodies. There's this sort of psychosomatic process that imprints us and holds us back. So when we have anxiety, we actually relive not the current experience, but the original experience that caused the trauma. It may not even have been your own experience. It could be, generational. We were talking about women in particular. We've had many different things put upon us to keep us held back, and it's been effective, right? So we just have to find ways to step out of that. And you guys are doing miraculous. You're here speaking, right? And there are some really simple ways to kind of maneuver through that energetically. So I'm an energy healer and life coach, and we can move the energies of that out of our bodies so that we're free and we can choose in the moment, what we want to do and how we want to proceed. So yeah. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you
for making it, right? And overcoming that. That's incredible. That's awesome.
Thank you. I try not to give myself any other options but to do it. So
there you go. So Rochelle, what do you think about all this?
Well, I'm in the mindset of Carolyn. I don't have any fears. I think what I learned when I was a little girl, because I'm the only girl in my whole entire family, so I grew up around boys. And I think the only fear I had growing up was a fear of getting in trouble by my parents, particularly my dad or my aunt, my mom's sister. Other than that, I just learned to be real tenacious at a very young age. And I was a little skinny, scrawny girl. So in my mind, it's like I had to be twice as tough as the weakest boy that I knew in our neighborhood, and I would be okay. And I just whatever I wanted to do, I just set out to do it, and I do set out to be the best and do the best. But the funny thing is, there was some times where I maybe thought, like maybe when I was in first emergency room nurse, and I got my first code that I was in charge of, and making sure that if I was calling out the right drugs, or doing the right things we needed to do to try to save this person's life, was I doing the right thing? Maybe I was fearful, but in those moments, you don't have time to think about that. You have to know your skill set.
Mhm.
You've got somebody's life in your hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I always believe that there's no failure. And so since there's no failure, you have nothing to fear. Everything that you may not succeed in the route that you have envisioned in your mind is not a failure. It's just a lesson on how not to do that again, and how to regroup and do things more strategically as you move forward. So it's always wisdom gained. And I think that's another reason why I just don't have any fears. I'm sorry, my dog is barking, but and also just stuff my maternal grandmother would tell me, just about being a girl, around the boys, and just you can never let them see you sweat.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I can relate to that for sure, Rochelle. Thanks for sharing.
Never let them see you sweat.
That's right. That's right. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
So, see, this is what I love about Real Talk, is that we get a chance to really have all different perspectives, but yet we encourage each other in every perspective, right? And being able to see what's what. But one of the things that we were talking about too is that Carolyn, can you kind of talk about a little bit? You had started talking about how a lot of times we don't see the talent that's in the room. Like a lot of times, whatever our answers are, it lies within our group. It lies within where we are. But sometimes somebody may not speak up about whatever that talent is that could actually help resolve the issue. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then I'd like to get Janae and Jen's take on that.
Sure. Yeah, because as a consultant and a coach among teams, trying to help people find less anxious ways to work together and be more productive. That was largely my research. And so what I just in an observation that the groups tend to just sort of self-organize, and people get hired into teams, and they fill a gap, right? And so I have always recognized that every single team has everything they need to be successful, but it has taken a lot to pull it out of people. So I can see the talent, and I look for it. It's like, what does this team need? What are they struggling with, and what do they need to overcome the challenge that they're facing? And I'll look around the room, and we'll talk about what's going on, and different people, and you can just sort of pick it up energetically, and then talk about it, and pull things out of people, and try to encourage them to kind of step up in a role that is going to facilitate the solution. And it's challenging, because people don't think that if they are not in a position of leadership that they shouldn't necessarily step up. And we talked a little bit about the dynamics of women being more keeping the even playing field, and it's difficult for women to step out and step up in a team, and not just women, but there's a lot of feminine males as well that carry a lot of the feminine traits that follow that same kind of pattern. And so to get them to step up and play a role in a solution when they're not in a position of leadership is challenging. And so we have to find out what motivates them, and have the team recognize that, and have the team support them to step up and enable them. And really, have open conversations about what it is that's holding them back, and what it is they need from each other then. and setting ground rules and boundaries and all of those kinds of things too, so that they can have conversations and meaningful dynamics and interactions to help them succeed, So it's being vulnerable. I think trust and vulnerability are the things what make relationships really thrive, right? And so if we can be vulnerable, say, you know what, I'm really afraid of this, or I'm really skeptical of this, or, if everybody understands that, and if we're all collaborative, what I found too is nobody wants anybody to fail, right? I mean, everybody wants everybody to succeed. I've seen that over and over and over again, despite what we think, that we all actually do want to help each other succeed. And most people will do like anything to help other people succeed. It's really remarkable. It's really inspiring. To work that way and have open conversations about that, so people really do step up and support other people when they're vulnerable, and that trust and that vulnerability is really what makes a team thrive. And that is whether it's in a family dynamic or in work teams. It's very similar, a little more tenuous with families, because you can leave a job, you can't necessarily leave your family out.
Well, that's debatable.
I know, right? Exactly. I don't know about that.
Just saying.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so along those same lines, the way I think of this is in terms of I guess a career setting. So if a person is working within a corporation and they're in a team setting, let's say they're working on a project or something like that, I just always encourage people to just remember that you bring a unique perspective to any and every situation. And so there's a confidence in that, right? There's no right or wrong because it's uniquely you. It's coming from your perspective, your experience, and that's something that can add value. You just have to be confident enough to speak up about it, right? To add your opinions and your potential solutions to every situation, because you never know. And just putting it out there again can garner support, like Carolyn was mentioning. So it's about having that confidence in yourself, also challenging yourself beyond your normal. So, that's not a role that you've played before, but it can be a role that you can grow into. However, you do have to challenge yourself and speak up. So that's something that I always share with my clients that I'm working with, along those same lines.
Okay. All right. What about you, Jen?
I agree with you a lot about the just having that confidence that you bring something to the table that someone next to you can't bring, or maybe doesn't bring as much as you do. Just having that confidence in yourself and being able to challenge yourself that way, to think that way. I know when I was first starting out, I was super intimidated by the people that I was working around. And so it was hard for me because I had that self-doubt of, I'm not as good or as talented or as educated as this person. So maybe I should just stay silent and learn from them. Now that I've been in the field a little bit longer, I see where that confidence kind of takes in. I see it in meetings and work meetings, or even just by myself whenever I'm working and I start to have that self-doubt, I start thinking about that I need to have confidence in my abilities. I've been doing this a while too. And so I do see that come into play a lot in my own career. And when I talk to friends as well, I hear it in them, just like that worry about whether or not they should speak up. I think a lot of that sometimes can come from being a woman. It's hard. I mean, I think there's a lot of male dominated fields that if you do find yourself in that environment, it's kind of hard to find your voice. At least at first it was for me. So yeah, I do agree. It comes into play a lot, and it's always there constantly. I mean, at least it is for me. It's just always there. It's something I think about all the time.
Wow. I tell you, you guys bring us some awesome points. One of the things you said is male-dominated field, and immediately it made me think of my co-host. Co-host, you want to enlighten them about the male-dominated field?
Yeah,
At least your experience with it.
It's an interesting conversation that all the ladies, have valid points. My experience is, as a woman, when I started my business in a male-dominated industry, if
Mhm.
I spoke up, which I was the type of girl that was going to speak up, then you get labeled a certain way. You get called a bitch, you get called, all kind of things, right? But unfortunately for the fellas, I didn't mind wearing that badge with the BITCH on it because I said it's beautiful, intelligent, talented, compassionate, and healthy, and they wish they could be like me. So, but in overall, most women in the fields, particularly if you're in a male-dominated industry, for you to be in that industry and to survive, you have to speak up. That's it. For instance, even as my other profession as a registered nurse working in an emergency room, of course I'm going to be working with a bunch of physicians or working with a bunch of physicians. If I saw something that I didn't like or I wanted to call them out on a decision they made, that because my goal is I'm focused on the patient. I don't even care about them. My goal is I'm the patient advocate. I'm focused on the patient, and that patient is my patient. I'm responsible for their health and well-being. So if I see something that doesn't look right, or I'm not understanding, or I'm questioning what you're doing, I'm going to ask you about it. And if I disagree with you, then we're going to have a discussion about it. But I'm going to speak up. And sometimes in that field, women tend to be submissive, male physician, female nurse. So you do whatever the doctor tells you to do, whether it's right or wrong. And you can't be that way. There comes a point in time where women have got to stand up for what's right for themselves, right for humanity, right for their children, right, because it's the right thing to do. And I think right now we're coming into age with that, with a lot of things that's happening around the world. We're coming into age, but we still take a stance back to men, even though we may be their voice, we may be their outlet, we may be their wisdom that they're getting information from. We still take that back stance. And until we can bring it equal and bring everything equal pay, opportunities, more than one CEO of a Fortune 500, a chairman of the board of a Fortune 500 company, until we can bring some more equality into things, we're going to have a little bit of a struggle. Because what's happened, all know that we make progress, we make 10 steps, and we take 8 back. That's how it is.
Oh, yeah.
And because what happens, people get comfortable, they stop, things change a little bit, they start thinking things are going to change, and slowly but surely things roll back and revert back if you don't speak up and if you don't use your voice for what it's worth, which is to speak up. And so
Right.
Mhm.
I agree so much with that sentiment, and really just challenging the status quo, right? That's the only way that we'll have progress. Improving processes. So whether that's in the workplace or even in your own families or just across the board, just challenging that status quo, asking questions. Why is it that we do things this way? And not settling for that answer, well, we've always done it this way, right? Like there's different
why?
ways, there's better
Right.
ways. Exactly. But why? Tell me why. Let's break
Yeah.
this down a little bit.
Let's
Yeah.
not make it right. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Exactly.
You need to change that. You need to change it, right? Just like what you're saying. So
Exactly.
yeah, we have to speak up. We are our voice. We're our own voice. Men aren't going to represent us like only we can represent us. So we have to speak up. And that's where becoming united helps us to give a more powerful and stronger voice so that we're not just heard locally, nationally, we're heard globally. And so let's do it, ladies. Let's do it.
Hey, let's do it. I'm all about that. Support each other and
Exactly.
be heard. Yes.
Exactly. I know one of the things that I heard, I think maybe Carolyn touch on this and maybe you too, Jen, but you were saying something about how, being able to support each other so that we can overcome the fear of whatever it is, whether we're at work, and whatever we're doing and going forward. So how does that look? Because that doesn't happen all the time. This is real talk, right? So that doesn't happen all the time with women supporting other women. We know that we may have that. We've been talking about how it is with the men, but with real talk, what does that look like with women really being able to support other women and being able to, so that they could be able to, step out of their fear so that they can go forward and be successful. Anybody can
Yeah, I
start with
can
that one.
speak on that a little bit. I really just think that it's going to take a lot of intentionality, right? So that's
Okay.
me going out of my way to offer help, to mentor, women that maybe need some direction or mentorship in a space
Mm,
that I'm
mm,
knowledgeable about,
that's
and
good.
also asking for help when I need it. When I need
Mm-hmm.
additional support in certain areas, I have
Mm-hmm.
no problem reaching out to mentors or women that I know have experienced certain things and
Mm-hmm.
getting their take on it. So I think that it starts there on both sides, like accepting it and seeking it out when you need it, and then offering it
Mm-hmm.
out freely as well. Because we all have
Mm-hmm.
something to give. We all have experiences to
Mm-hmm.
share, lessons to,
Mm-hmm.
share. So we can all learn from each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
that's
That's
one thing
right.
that I've accepted a long time ago. So,
Yes.
there's no ego involved. It's just pure support, adoration, and that's really what it's about for me.
That's awesome. I love it. You said mentorship. I
Yes.
love that. Being able to be intentful in mentoring someone, right? Stepping out to mentor somebody, and not always waiting to be asked, but stepping out
Yeah.
to actually volunteer. Yeah, that's good.
Janae, I love what you said too about that we have different talents. And I think that's not recognized in the dynamics of women keeping everything collaborative. And if women step up, then they tend to get sabotaged and attacked.
Yeah.
And I think if we call that out, if we can recognize it, and instead of just like playing the victim and going, "Why do people hate me all of a sudden?" And call it out and just say, "You know what? This is a dynamic that women have." And if we can shift the perception then that they're not stepping up, they're just stepping into a different role and using different skill sets and talents.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a firm believer that we all have the same amount of gifts and talents. So there's nobody that's better than anybody else. It just is
Just different.
expressed differently,
It's just
right?
Mm-hmm.
that's
And so
all.
that
Yeah.
each person needs to be in their authenticity in their roles,
Mm-hmm.
and so by stepping up, I think if we can have that conversation, then we can dispel some of the cattiness and some of the
The competition.
nastiness,
Yeah.
that women
Mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, there's
nasty.
no need for competition. What I'm strong in, someone else could be weak in. What I'm weak in, someone else is strong in. There's
Mm-hmm.
not anything better or worse than the other. It's just different. It's simply different.
Mhm.
And we can complement each other. So the more that we accept that truth, the more we can work collaboratively with each other and support each other.
Mhm. I totally agree.
Me too. I agree with that. I think reaching out is so important and just maintaining those connections and talking and really talking to people. Reaching out is so important because I feel like a lot of the times people are going through things that they don't talk about. And so
Mm-hmm.
they are worried about reaching out. And so keeping in touch that way and sometimes being that person that takes that first step and saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, honestly, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes can make a really big difference for people and for myself as well. I love when I've been silent for a little while because I've been going through things and then I receive like an email or a text just asking how I'm doing. I love that too. And so I think it's really important just to maintain those connections and that's that intention I think is also important. You were talking about that a little bit and just doing it with intent, checking in on people and doing what you can to help them.
Yes.
I agree. I think that comes a long way. I know in my career over the last 31 years, there were various instances where someone that had a more seasoned woman-owned business, saw something in me and took me down a path that led me to
Mm-hmm.
something else. But I was mentored, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that I had it within me, but these various women did, and
Mm-hmm.
it really helped not only catapult my career or my business, but also just gave me more skill set with regards to
Mm-hmm.
what I didn't believe I had or even
Yes.
see that I had. And in turn, my thing was whenever I saw someone, a young lady that was I thought maybe had a certain skill set, or I thought just was super talented, or just needed to be nurtured. Guess what? I grabbed that lady, that gal, and said, "Come on, honey, I'm gonna do for you what someone did for me." And I've done that a lot, because sometimes you have stuff right here and you can't see it, but there's people telling you, and you're denying it or whatever, because sometimes, as you lady talk, we're talking about fear sets in because you don't know, and a lot of times the whole thing with fear is you don't want to fail. But if you put it in context, it's not failing. It's just learning something not to do. Then and get a mentor. Then it's great. Or pull another person up with you. It's always, that's the thing I think that happens that men do that women don't do. Men will pull up and all kind of people and pull up. They will do business with each other, but a woman gotta look all cross-eyed and jaded and and it's like, honey, none of us have the same talents. As far as we may have the same talent capacity, but how we do things are different.
Yeah, it's gonna be different.
Someone might be a phenomenal business owner, but their specialty or their finesse thing is their finesse thing is operations. That's my forte. Or someone might be a business owner is sales or marketing. You don't have to do everything when you can have others, surround yourself with other phenomenal women.
That's it.
That can help you to be successful. Oh my God, what is going on today?
Somebody wants you, Rochelle, okay? Somebody wants you bad. You need to answer the phone. See, this is real talk, okay? Hello, guys. This is what we talk about.
Somebody that's seeing this, live.
That's true.
Let me chime
That's true. Saying, wait, I need to tell them something.
That must be it. That must.
There you go. There you go. They're trying to get in on the conversation. Come on, guys. Go on and hit us up. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But you know what, Rochelle, you brought up a really good point, and that men do it all the time. They'll say, hey, let's catch some golf together, or hey, let's do, whatever. They will have settings outside of it where they're talking and getting you ready and preparing you. And I want you to go to this meeting with me. I want to introduce you to somebody, those type of things. And we as women, we don't do that enough. I'm not saying we don't do it at all, ladies, because I know some ladies out there probably saying, excuse me, but I do that. But guess what? We need more of you. We need more of you. I know Rochelle is one of those people.
Men will do it. They will not even like the other dude, really. Say the business might be true, or you know what I'm saying? They can't stand the guy personally, but what he does or his asset, so to speak, can help this person along. Yeah. And so why not introduce him to someone, and then it's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
Women, we don't do that. If we don't like you, we stand the heck away from you. And it's
no. See, it is nothing personal. Nothing personal.
That's it. It's real.
We should be able to network and be in relationship with each other and help each other without it's not personal, right?
Exactly.
And I know Rochelle is true to what she does as far as mentoring women all the time. Will pull up women when she sees them doing things and feels like, you know what, you got more in you. Come on with me. I'm going to take you with me. And she does. She had that genuinely. So I know she's talking from a place of action, and that's what I want to say, action, because a lot of times we like to talk, right? But there's no action behind it. It's like when you get the opportunity to do it, are you doing it?
Right. Well, I love it. Nice to meet you all. I will be reaching out to all of you because, again, I'm all about those relationships. Maybe there's something I can help you with. I'm sure there's things I can learn from you. And so we have to have that openness.
Exactly. Always. Now, I have one question to end with. Unless you have a question you want to end with, Rochelle, because I'm looking at our time, and our time is ticking.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you got a question? Okay, so with all of this that we've talked about, how we have fears, well, most of us, some of us don't have the fears, right? But that's all right, because you recognize that it's real, because that's one thing about it. Anxiety or fear is real to that person, right? Yeah. And whatever they're going through. But how we talked about how different ways of overcoming it. But then we talked about the groups and being able to know and get people to bring their talent forth. What would you say as a parting word to ladies out there who are saying, I really want to come forth with my talent at work or wherever this is that I'm trying to get into to do better, but I still don't know the best way to do that, because I do have women that are around me who don't like me, and I'm in a place where I'm not. How do I get past my fear to be able to be in a place of empowerment? If you're in that position at work anywhere.
Yeah. I would say just do it. Go for it. Pursue it and be unapologetic about it.
Yes.
Right? Be
Yes.
fierce, be you. You're the only one who can be you. So again, I always tell people your competitive edge is your uniqueness. It's your experiences, your personality, your gifting, your talent. No one can take that away from you, nor can they compete with it, right?
Mhm.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
don't
It
I don't
is.
do it. I
Yes, it
am
It
is.
me.
is.
This is what you're gonna get. I'm gonna walk into that room and I'm gonna sit down like I belong there because I
Mm-hmm.
do. And so just know that. Just know that. Just do it. There's nothing stopping you. Life is way too short to be afraid.
That's
So
true. She got the Michael Jordan thing. Just do it.
just
Woo!
do it.
Got the swoosh.
No, I agree 100%. I think the only thing I would add is just be brave. Be really, really brave because it's scary, but also I agree with Janae, like having that thought that you do belong. You do. Like you have your own talents you have to recognize and you're there
Mm-hmm.
for a reason and you gotta leave your mark in this world. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have a legacy and I think it should be bravery. Just being really, really courageous and intentional in every like move and step that you make. Just do it with intent. Like be the best you can be.
All right. I love it. I love it. Intentful and brave. There you go. All right, Carolyn.
I'm going to echo two things: being authentic and knowing what you're good at, and then knowing how to go about doing that. And again, not following anybody else's path, but really following your own authenticity. And I think stepping up and saying, you know what, I have this talent or I have this passion that I'd like to develop or I'd like to share. Without being egotistical, certainly, right? But just totally calm and natural about, like this is how I can fit in if this is of value to the group or team or other people, and just play with it and see what happens, And I think it's amazing. I agree that there is no failure, and if we can just try things, and sometimes it's going to fit in, sometimes it's going to be timing,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not. You're not in the right group, and just look at all those things, and then just as you know more about who you are and how you are and where
Mm-hmm.
you are going to shine, you will find the right people to shine with.
Awesome. I love it. Find your community, right? Right.
Yes, yes.
Rochelle, take us out. Take us out. Tell us something good and take us out.
So I think that for one, you have to be very bold. You have to be audacious. Two, you have to be confident. And the whole thing, fake it till you make it. You can fake confidence. If you know your stuff, there's no reason for you not to be confident. Now, if you don't know your stuff, then yeah, you better brush up before you go in because you
Preparation is key.
but if you know your stuff,
Ooh, I love it.
there's no reason for you not to be confident. But here's the other thing. You have to walk in there and own it. You have to claim it and own
Yes.
it before you even get it.
I love it.
If you go in there half stepping, whatever you're trying to
It'll
achieve
show.
is not going to happen. And I don't care if that's with going to school, learning how to drive a car, ride a bicycle. If you have stepping, you're not going to be able to succeed with it. So
Mm-hmm.
confident. If you know your stuff, be confident. Own it. First claim it and then own it, and then go in there and show it. And
Yes.
speak for your. All of that will speak for yourself because you'll be coming from a place of, I like to say, a very energetic grounding place, and there's nothing
Mhm.
to shake you, because for one, the confidence will do it. And just go in there, you just never know what happens.
That's
Own
great
it.
talk.
I love it.
But you have to claim it and own it. You have
Claim
to
it and own it. There
own
you
it.
go.
Like when Beyonce does when she was coming out doing it, does that walk?
Yeah.
You
That kind of owning it.
like
Okay.
Right.
like doing your sliding heels, and you're not gonna fall, even if you're so flat. You go there. You claim it,
Yeah.
own it,
You
right?
claim it
You
and
want to
own it
wear
like
like the
that.
power colors, or whatever, like
Yeah.
red, just something red, or something royal
Yeah.
blue,
Yeah.
that you can just hold on to when you walk in there. Go in there and do your thing.
And drop the mic.
Right?
That's our new thing. Rochelle, that's your see, that's the talk show new thing is dropping the mic. Rochelle, isn't that right? Isn't that our new thing is dropping the mic?
I'm gonna buy us a mic, and I'm gonna be dropping it instead of my Facebook stuff.
That is our thing. That is Rochelle and our thing for our show is dropping the mic. So yeah, that's going to be our thing. Just remember that. But thank you, ladies, for being so patient. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining Rochelle and I. Carolyn, Janae, Jen, thank you so much for joining Rochelle and I. We appreciate you being with us on the Real Talk Show. Until next time, ladies,
All
be
Thank
right.
you so
brave,
much.
own it, claim
Yes.
it, and own it.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.